Good morning, Chuck. What's going on in your side of the world today?
Probably much what's like going on your side of the world, Jim. A complete and utter shit show.
It is, my friend. That it is. The deniable ship show with a lack of definition, a lack of goals, and a lack of drive. And it's just been one more week of watching things spin out of control. I will say this though: there's been an increasing feeling of hope for me. Like things are gonna go somewhere different, at least. Now, different isn't always good. Different isn't
Right.
always bad. But different is different, and sometimes different is a good thing.
No,
From a sense of change right now is necessary.
you're not wrong. You're not wrong. I think it's the world we live in right now that I vacillate. And I don't mean to sound negative. I vacillate from hopeful to hopeless, sometimes in the span of 10 minutes, just depending on what news comes out.
Yeah.
And I want to give you a bit of a giggle.
Okay.
So you and I, especially you, had talked a little bit, just a little, about the Melania movie when it came out and your feelings about that. And as you know, it was tanked. I mean,
Oh,
despite
she's the biggest. She's the biggest online star in the download thing, not streaming movies. She's the
well,
best.
that's what I was going to say. It tanked at the movie theaters, and now it's on Amazon.
You watched it.
My lovely wife forced me to watch it, and
I've downloaded it. It's sitting in my queue waiting.
so we watched. She was. I was like, please God no, and she was fascinated. And we started watching it, and we watched about 10 minutes of it. And then she's like, "Fast forward," and I'd fast forward about 10 minutes. And so we didn't actually watch the movie. I think it's like an hour and 44 minutes, and I think we probably watched a half an hour of it total in clip.
Yeah,
And
it's awful, right?
it's 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 not that it's awful. It's that it's.
Lacking in substance, like the first lady.
I was gonna say it's one of the most vapid things I think I've ever seen in my entire life.
Welcome to Life in the Baggage Claim and our short-form video content series. We produce new episodes weekly and understand that not everyone can spend 50, 60 minutes listening to an entire episode. These shorts are your ticket to get the best of the weekly episode.
The first 10 minutes is her talking, I can't even do her accent, but talking about, they're fitting her dress and the men around her, the men and women around who are the designers are like, oh, it's amazing because she was a foreigner, speaks that language. It's so easy to dress her and yada, yada, yada. And it's the most, well, I'll just put it this way. If you were to sit down and write the most self-serving piece of nonsense that a man like Donald Trump would want for his wife, this is what it is. But the other thing is, I read something online when it first came out, and I was just like, I thought it was a throwaway line because, people get catty. I get catty. Shit, I'll be the first one to admit it about all of this stuff. But somebody was saying that, as you had mentioned, that Brett Ratner was the director who has himself been accused of sexual misconduct over and over and over again and was pretty much blacklisted by Hollywood until they resurrected his career. But somebody online said that Brett Ratner had a thing for women's feet. And I was like, okay, whatever. Dude, I can't tell you the number of shots there are. And I'm not joking. In the 30 minutes that we watched of women in high heels, just their feet from like mid calf down. And then it got to be funny where I didn't say anything. I wanted to see what happened. My wife mentioned it. She goes, "The hell's with all the feet shots?" And so she meets, and I'm going to get her name wrong. I'm so sorry. Queen Rana, I think, of Jordan. And there's a shot of both of them walking and you see their feet. It's the weirdest thing. And it's just, and then you get to the part where she's sitting at the table with a inauguration planner and Donald Trump. And it is the most vomitable thing. He's sitting there and he's like, well, this and that and the other thing. And you're so, you wore this dress last time. Are you going to beat that? And you're going to have a great dress and everything else. And he goes, there's the bet planner's like, there's balls and there's this and that. And he goes, when do I get to start making America great again? And the guy's trying to be professional. He's like, well, sir, we have this. And he goes, when will we be done with all this? Well, about 1 a.m. Okay, so I'll be able to start making America great again then. And it's just like everything you thought it might be, it's worse.
Yeah.
And
It doesn't surprise me. One of the things that has always caught my interest is the fact that during the first term, there were a lot of people defended her and really liked her. And I have to admit that I gave her grace. I gave her a lot of grace. During that period, right? She's first lady. But, when she chose not to live in D.C. and chose not to be part of the life, you knew she wasn't interested, right? And I think to myself, it's such a great opportunity when you're the first lady, the first man, whoever you're the first of, right? When you're the top next to the top, you have a lot of opportunity to do something with your life. You have a lot of opportunity to make a statement, and you don't have to do something popular. You don't have to do something unpopular. You just have to do something, right? Take on a cause that means something to you, whether the public likes it or not. And she didn't do that. Instead, she made sure we had the strangest red Christmas ever in the White House. We had a constant question about why the hats covered the eyes and why the clothes looked like they did. It was just sort of, I love the comparison of Jim Carrey and her and the one in the mask when he wears the green hat that comes down to here and she's wearing the blue hat. It's been, both of them are an exactly perfect couple together. Let's not lie. So I have that movie sitting in my queue. It's been there for a week and a half. I'm going to have to be in the right space to even get there. I will watch it because I'm a firm believer, well, like I've said in some comments this week that came in on our podcast, that, we watch both sides, we learn both sides, we read both sides, so we come here balanced, right?
So,
oh boy. So I'm going to have some good alcohol and something really, maybe even something different.
Well, it's so funny. You and I are on the same page. So we're recording this Saturday morning. So I watched it with my wife Friday night, and it's been a long week, and I was 3 cocktails in when I watched it, and it still bothered me.
Yeah.
Normally,
you couldn't even tune it down, huh?
Right. Normally when I'm 3 cocktails in, I'm like, oh, what the hell? But it was just like, no. What made me the saddest was that it was absolutely indicative of Trump's entire administration. It's all a dog and pony show. And we kind of know that. We've always known that. But it's all about, is it pretty? And people like me? Is it pretty? And you know what? I gave her grace too. I mean, first of all, it's funny you said that. The position of first lady, for the most part, is this. And for those of you listening, I'm doing the royal wave.
He's waving his royal hand just
right,
below just below the tiara.
Right. You can skate by just by being reasonable and kind. You can, you show up at the state dinners, you do all of that, you smile and you wave. And I'm not demeaning women. It would be the same thing if we had a first husband. Is it first man, first husband, first gentleman?
What was Kamala's husband called? He was the
who?
Kamala's husband when she was vice president.
I think if a woman becomes president, I think it's
second gentleman or something like that.
I think it's first gentleman instead of first lady or something like that. Anyway, so I'm not being sexist. I'm just saying historically we've only had women first ladies.
So if it's FLOTUS, what does it become? Fagotus?
Oh no, it's no. Actually, it's funny you said that because on her dress last night on this ridiculous fucking movie, on her they had dress bags, and it's FOTUS, FOTUS.
Yeah, it's supposed to be FLOTUS though. Usually they use FLOTS. Right? First Lady of the United States.
Wait, was it FLOTUS? Yes, it was. I take it
so
back.
That's why I said, is it going to be Fagotus?
Yeah, again, 3 cocktails in, it was FLOTUS. Anyway, but no, it just I gave her grace too because whatever. I mean, she's not elected. Who cares? And I don't mean to be disrespectful. It's the same thing about Dr. Joe Biden. Any of them. It's not an elected position. Hopefully you support your husband, the president, in official state things. What happens behind the scenes between you and him? Hopefully you support America, or you put a good face on for America. Hopefully, because that's your job. No, she lives in a fantasy world. I think she's 25 or 26 years younger than Donald Trump. Are they obviously married for true love?
Yeah. On Epstein Island, right?
Right. And she just there were pictures of her on, she's on a private jet and she's flying back. She's got her designer sunglasses on. And I'm like, I looked at my wife and I said, who the hell wears sunglasses on an airplane? She goes,
all the paparazzi, the famous Hollywood.
She goes, it's to hide the wrinkles. And I was like, oh, things that a straight white man doesn't think about.
Yeah, that's true.
But no, it was just.
Hey, go ahead.
No, it's indicative of everything with Trump is, I'm tough. I'm an alpha male, but you like me, don't you? You like me, don't you?
Oh yeah, well that's narcissism.
Yeah, agreed. It just, it's just like the whole war thing. And then Pete Hegseth having his meltdown, what was it, yesterday or the day before, and telling in a Pentagon press briefing, telling the press how they
what
should.
The headline should be? That one?
Yes. Because
so we're going to break right to this. And there goes my baggy award for the week.
Oh shit! Again? Hegseth again? Woo! Yeah. Twofer. The man's on a roll.
That's the war bro, right? I mean, my God. I watched that and I sat there and I said, and I had just come off of watching something about how Trump has an issue of Mein Kampf sitting in the nightstand next to him. And I thought to myself, they really are a fucking party, yes, of Nazis. This group really is following the Nazi play. And I don't care if this bothers you and it's a thing that triggers you, but I would say wake up, because they are following that playbook really well. Okay, it's not just a Nazi playbook. Let's be honest. It's a nationalist playbook. It's a one culture, one true identity playbook, right? It's saying that this race is the right race. And you know why we went into that Israeli war? It's all about genocide, dude. We're going to figure out how to help them do the genocide game.
Yeah. Well, like I said, so there's, and you and I will get more into this. Jim and I, for those of you who, I don't know if we talked about this last week or if we talked about it after we stopped recording, but Jim has turned me on to a book, and we're going to have a mini book club because I started reading it, and oh hell yes, we're going to talk about this.
But but that's gonna be our Easter episode.
Yes, but because Chuck has to finish the book.
That's okay. I'm not done yet either.
Okay, good. But no, it's just funny. We're halfway through March, and Jim finally can't take it anymore and calls Nazis with Nazis, and I mean that with love, because we've been so careful to try to not do that.
Yeah, I mean, there are terms that can get you really hurt on YouTube, and that's probably one of them. We'll probably actually have you bleep those out, Chuck, and you can just. It's like, I don't want to, but it's sort of one of those.
Well, but wait a minute though. I'd have
it does cave our first right.
Well, I was going to say I'd have to go back and listen, but what you just said, I don't think you called anybody a Nazi. I thought you said, it sounded like you said act like. And
yes.
Well, and I don't mean to split hairs here, but
no,
it's the old walks like a duck, quacks like a duck. It's a fucking duck.
Be a duck.
If you're going to perpetuate things, absolutely mirror other things, and you can't be angry when people call you by that
as those things. Yeah. So, it's interesting is I have a friend who got called out this week, and I was watching this whole saga develop in online social media. And this has happened. It's not the first time I've heard this, but people are saying that if you don't support Israel, you don't support the Jewish people. And I always say there's this problem I have, which is Israel's a nation. The Jewish faith is a religion.
Mm-hmm.
So, yes, it's a religious nation,
mm-hmm.
but it's not that I don't support Jewish people. I may not support the Israeli government. Right? I believe the Jewish people deserve as much as anybody else. Well, I don't like what the Israeli government does. Well, and so you get in trouble because people say, well, you're being you're against the Jews and you're being all those things. And I'm thinking, just get over yourself. That's not what it is. I have no issues with people who are Jewish or any faith for that matter. Do your thing. That's my world,
Well, see, and you and I have talked about this, and one of my biggest pet peeves are lazy arguments. I hate lazy arguments, and it's that same obfuscation bullshit. It was just like in the Gulf War. In the war with Iraq that Bush lied to us about, and we know all this in hindsight and everything else. There were people like myself who were like, fuck this war. This is ridiculous. And then you would get people to say, well, if you don't support the war, you don't support the troops, you don't support America. And it's like, no, I support the men and women fighting over there who have been set over there on a lie and on a false premise to be harmed or die or be put in harm's way, but I fucking hate what our government's doing. So you can do the same thing with Israel, and you're right. It's and this is what I was talking about, the book that Jim and I'm not going to talk about it because
let's call it out, because if you want to join us in that conversation when we have done the comments on the thing, read it. It's called The Separation of Church and Hate, and we put the link in the last episode. We'll put it again in this one.
Okay.
It's a great book. I would hope folks do read it because it's right now it's a bestseller. I think it's a great lesson in understanding the right place for any church to be in society, the right way to approach what our Christian white nationalists are saying, the right way to think about how that fits and doesn't fit, and where to go call their arguments out.
Right. Well, and the reason I'm getting into that, and if you think you just were unpopular for using the term Nazi, buckle up, baby. So I've never understood. I mean, I understand, but I don't understand what this fascination is with Americans, especially Christians, supporting Israel. And when I say Israel, I mean the Israeli government, the idea of Israel, not the people of Israel, because I think ultimately they don't give a shit about the people of Israel. It's the government and the idea. And I've heard this argument for years and years and years and years. Well, they're our only ally in the Middle East. And it's like,
Not
No,
true.
they're not. They do whatever we send them enough money every year that they have free healthcare and they have free college.
Yeah,
We don't
better than we
have
are.
that. We don't have that, but we send them enough money, and I'm not saying they spend it on that, but I'm saying we send them enough money for their military that they can spend other things on their people. We should take a page from that. But more importantly, I know what it is, and it's I've broached it with friends who call themselves Christians, and I get the same reaction every time. And what I say is, what is this fascination? First of all, we give them all of this money, they do whatever the fuck they want to do. We're like, hey, we need you to do a ceasefire. Okay, 30 seconds later, they bomb people again.
Yeah,
And then,
or in the middle of the ceasefire, they bomb them. The discussions, negotiations, right?
No, agreed. And then this time around, U.S. We bombed Iran because Israel was going to do it any fucking way. So they're a quote unquote ally who does whatever they want, puts us in harm's way, does crazy shit. And every time I look at a Christian friend of mine, a Christian or so-called Christian friend of mine, I'm like, your fascination with this is because the Bible says that Israel has to exist for Jesus to come back. Well, and then they start backpedaling. And it's like, if you believe in God, and if you read the Bible and you believe the Bible, it clearly states that no one or nothing can push God to do what you want God to do. Correct? I mean, Jim, you help me out here. You know more about all this than I do.
I'll catch you if you fall.
Thank you. So the idea of we have to continue to make sure that Israel is a country so that Jesus will come back is in itself fallacious to the tenets of Christianity. So I guess what I'm saying is I don't want any country to fall per se, but there's part of me that says, you know what? Let's stop sending, and this is not, I know the Republicans are going to be like, did a liberal just say this? Let's stop sending money to Israel for a year and just see what the fuck happens. See if they stop being so aggressive. See if they start listening. See if they start actually being an ally.
Well, I was just say, if they feel that we are, if they feel that we will back them on everything, right, then you have a lot of balls and you got a big country like us sitting behind you to do whatever you want.
I was going to say, if you're in a bar and you're 5'5", 98 pounds, and your brother or friend or whatever is standing behind you who's 4', 280 and solid muscle, you'll probably run your mouth more than if he wasn't there. You will probably run your mouth more. If you turn around and your buddy is gone, you're going to shut up real quick because you don't want to get your ass whooped. And that's where we are with this. And I've got nothing against the state of Israel. I've got nothing against the Israeli people. I've got nothing against the idea of Israel. I love everyone equally until they give me not to. But this is all about politics. And for those of you who are listening, you're like, you're like the Israeli people. Shut the fuck up. I've got a bunch of Jewish friends that I absolutely love with all my heart and would support at every turn. But I don't support their government, just like I don't support the Iranian government. To me, honestly, and I'm going to get a lot of fire for this, there's not a hell of a lot of difference between the two.
There really isn't.
They're both
out self-serving.
They're both aggressive to their neighbors, and they're both they both
want to see the other gone.
Right. Because
I mean, it's no different than Russia and the U.S. back in the Cold War days. We both had mutual disinterest in each other.
Right.
We just had leaders who were willing to talk.
Right.
And figure it out. And nowadays, it's, I guess.
Well,
hey, Chuck, I want to take a break for a second. And I do want to just share your Cards for Humanity statements last week got a lot of interest. It's been a leading driver in our metrics this week. And I just wanted to share with folks that we see that. Obviously, you liked the talk about Cards for Humanity, and I cut that out into a short. And it's got a lot of attention. But I did want to mention that we've seen some really good growth this past few weeks on the channel. And I think it's worth saying. We appreciate everyone who's here, who listens to this every week when it pops up and gets through more than the first, 10 minutes or 5 minutes and actually makes it through a good chunk of this. We've seen you. We hear you. We love you. We thank you. You're good people. You do good things. You're the best people, the smartest people. I was just imitating Trump. If you're only watching this.
Yeah, I knew you were going there. I could feel the energy.
Best imitation on Trump.
The best no one's ever seen.
Yeah, the best audience that anyone's ever had. We're going to actually go name a building after Chuck somewhere. I think we're going to take the Washington Monument and call it the Chuck Longer Beam and Washington Monument now. Yes, thank you, Chuck. It's coming.
I'm shocked and honored. Thank you.
But I did want to bring up, and this is one of those things you just like to talk about. With all you watching, we've only got about 10% of you subscribe, and we'd love to see it higher because, we've got thousands of people watching the show now. We'd like to see that number grow. It helps us, it gets us placed better, and maybe we'll make some money down the road. We don't know, but we'll just turn it into the show anyways because
I'm
I'm sponsoring this as long as I can.
I'm going to sound like an abusive parent for a minute. You disappoint me. You
Yeah,
disappoint
you
me,
just
people.
But I wanted to say I've really loved watching our female folk grow. That means something to me, and I think it's important.
Yes.
Thanks to our Canadian friends who are listening, because there are a bunch of them, and as well as a lot of folks who speak Bengali are watching. And I know that because I get a note every week saying that I need to SEO optimize my podcast, and
Yep.
that's why.
Okay. Wow. All right. I love
So
it.
just sharing that, and thought it'd be great to tell our folks we see it. It's great to see these numbers. We appreciate you. We want you to subscribe. But and now back to the show.
Yeah, it's Jim. It's been another one of those weeks where the Secretary of the Interior said that poor people are just bad. Or no, sorry, the Secretary of the Interior said that people who believe in public lands are just ignorant of real estate. Was it Scott Bessent who said that poor people are just bad with money? I mean, these are the people that are in charge of things. And Mark Wayne Mullen, who is at the end of the month will be the new charge of Homeland Security. He continues to put his foot in his mouth, and to the point where, and run his mouth and be stupid, to the point where they're saying it's possible the Senate, which is run by Republicans right now, will not confirm him, because that's what everybody does when you're leaving a job and going to a next job. You piss off all the people who hire you for the next job. It's like, screw all of you. You're all idiots. Wait,
Yep.
you're going to hire me, right?
Yeah.
It's
So
that. Go
I'm
ahead.
sure, Chuck, you've seen gas prices are up, right? The gas price is an average of
They're
$3.54.
going down, Jim, and very soon they'll be lower than they ever were. Come on.
Really? Yeah, but it's 17% increase in 2 weeks.
It's not what Trump said. Trump said
I know that. I know. I just don't know what to believe anymore. So, I'm just saying that I read things in the news and I think, oh my gosh, the talking heads, the fake news would make a statement like gas is $3.54, which you could go out and actually check. Oh, I'm so happy I drank.
So it makes me, beyond the fact that it's just fucking ludicrous. What was it, a year ago, or maybe it was during the campaign or whatever, when Trump said, "Don't believe what you read, or don't believe what you hear, believe what I tell you." And that may not be a direct quote, but I'm damn close. The truth of the matter is, I'm gonna say something that's slightly inflammatory, but I can back it up. The truth of the matter is that Republicans have always been a little out of touch with what common people go through. They pretend like they're the champion of the common, but they've always been a little out of touch. And you and I can both agree on that. That's not radical. It just always has been. During the recession, when George H.W. Bush was playing around on his cigar boats, like in the where in Maine or whatever, or Kennebunkport or whatever, and play around on $150,000 cigar boats while people were, losing their homes. Or
Yep.
George W. Bush, when he was talking about the recession and everything else, and he goes, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. Now watch this putt, so they've always been a little out of touch. But I don't think, and I'm please, you correct me, or somebody correct me in the comments. I don't think we've ever had a president who was not only so out of touch, but blatantly, actively gaslighted the very people that voted for him.
Well, and MAGA has been out there on the news this week talking about that.
Yeah, well,
they're finally saying, hey, he's not doing what he said he would do. I was in support of tariffs. I was in support of immigration, and now he's got this war. I didn't say I wanted a war.
Well, and it's funny because I think, and I'm not patting myself on the back, I'm just happy that I got one right. I think it was 2 weeks ago when I said that MAGA will start to turn on him when gas gets near $120 a barrel. And I'm right in line there. But
yep.
Well, and the reason is because when grocery prices went up and are still up, depending on where you are, if you budget, I can understand if you and your family budget that in, and then, maybe it hurts, but you're used to it, kind of thing. But man, gas prices, that's in your face right now. And what I mean by that is
hit, right? It's not like you can watch it slowly go up so you're preparing. It just happens.
Right. But what I'm saying is, like, if a gallon of milk is, I don't buy milk anymore. I'm sorry. Let me, no, I'm trying to think of something.
I don't even know.
I eat fish, and fish has gone up, but it's gone up relatively incrementally. It didn't go from, this to this. It went up relatively incrementally. And so if I was paying, $8 or $6 for a pound of shrimp, and then suddenly I'm paying $6.15. You may notice, you may not, especially in your bigger grocery bill, it may not kick in. But when you're at the pump, baby, and you get done and it used to cost you $40 to fill up your tank and now it's 55 or whatever, that's immediate. That's immediate pain. And he's out here saying prices are down and they're going to be lower than ever and everything else. And it's like, no, dude, I'm paying $3.49, something like that, when literally a month ago I was paying $2.98. No, I feel that. That's 50 cents. That's, what is that, 25% increase.
And 7 out of 10 Americans are now acknowledging that tariffs have caused higher prices, which means there has to be some MAGA folks even in there saying that, right? Because they're not that small.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Gas prices are one thing, and the other problem is that, especially with, and I grew up. Look, folks, my dad's family is country as hell. So country folks, and a lot of country folks are MAGA. Country folks get most of their entertainment through gasoline. And what I mean by that is, I mean four-wheelers, I mean big trucks, I mean going to the dirt track races on a Friday night.
Going fishing on a weekend, going camping.
Right, going fishing on a weekend with your trawling boat and putting gas in that. A lot of entertainment for those folks comes from gasoline-powered things. And so when you start, I expect, this is a very American thing to say, but I expect my daily expenses to be a certain thing. But when you start fucking with my entertainment expenses, that's what I feel it instantly.
Absolutely.
And I think
so. And the other thing is, who remembers there's still a shutdown going on? Hasn't that just fallen out of the light a little bit?
Well, I think the people that, and not to put too fine a point on it, since we don't talk about this as much anymore, but Jim and I are both travel advisors. People who are traveling feel it because because the TSA agents haven't been paid in like a month.
Now the airports are putting up donation buckets for the TSA.
I saw that. Can you give them? Was it grocery gift cards and stuff like that? So here's the thing. That's fucking beautiful. To me, I mean, it's sad.
Reacting in a way that you get engaged.
Right. I mean, it's sad that we're here. To me, that's community. That's community at its fullest. Look, these folks that live in your neighborhood aren't getting paid. It's no fault of their own. They're trying to do their job. We got to help them out. That is beautiful. Like, that is fucking community to me. But, and then of course, the Democrats are not getting hammered on that. They're the ones holding it up. They're not getting hammered because the most rank and file Americans are like, yeah, we don't want these stormtroopers in our cities either.
No. And I'm going to go one more round off on the news headlines to health and environment stuff, because I think this is the last three things that get me.
Bring it, baby.
The last couple of things get me. One is, we now have 30 states that reject the vaccine mandates of the federal government. So that means that you have a 2 and a 3 and 4 and 50. What is it? It's a high probability that you will go through a state where someone may not be vaccinated against something you are, or you are not, and may get because of that. So the chance of getting measles when there's an outbreak is going to be higher. The chance of getting any other major disease.
That's 60% of the country.
Yeah. So I hope it's great. And I understand the anti-vaccine community. I understand why women especially said they didn't want the COVID vax, because there was a lot of fear in young ladies, and I had one that worked for me, around potentially not being able to bear children if that vaccine did something, right? And I get it. I understand the fear. I don't know what else to tell you than watch the science. But, it's just, when you keep doing this, we're going to become a banana republic, third world country real fast, right? When people start dying. So, but maybe that's all in the plan. I don't really know, because I don't see the plan.
Well, it's interesting.
Chuck, you got silent there.
It's interesting you said that. And full disclosure, I was in education at the time. I had the full course of COVID vaccines, as far as I know. I don't have any extra toes or anything like that. But there's a part of me that understands hesitation about the COVID vaccine. What I cannot get my head around at all, and to each their own, and then some. But what I cannot get my head around is this rabbit hole, this internet rabbit hole that people went down, and all of a sudden, I'm going to stop trusting the fucking polio vaccine, which has been around for 80 years and eradicated polio. And here's what I'm going to say. Anything that anybody does ever, take medicine out of it. Anything that anybody, I'm allergic to bananas. That kicked in at 30 years old. Where the fuck did that come from? Okay. It just is. So anything can happen at any time. But this may sound a little radical, but I'll back this. If you've got a vaccine that eradicates polio, And the problem is we're so far away from polio, from meaning you never saw polio, I never saw polio. We're
Right.
so far away from seeing people with polio and how that ravaged a friend of mine. When I was in grade school, a friend of mine's dad had polio as a
Oh,
child, and he had to have braces on his legs, and he looked like he had scurvy or something. His legs looked like the joke, the old cowboy, and
yeah.
all that. And he had trouble getting around. And he had polio as a child. So at least I saw that. At least that's in the back of my mind of, ooh, I don't want that. I don't want that for my kids. I don't want anything. So we eradicated polio. Okay, fine. If the polio vaccine then has deleterious effects to 0.0001% of those people that take it, my heart bleeds for them. I feel for them. But the good so far outweighs the bad.
But see, there we go. There comes down to what's going on in our world. We are focused on the one. Everybody's focused on the one themselves, right? This is a
Preach.
world. And if you want to talk about bringing on end of days, there's one of your prime examples. When the world stops focusing on the greater good and the brand of the individual outweighs the brand of the people. That's one of those signs. So Christians, just be aware, you're ushering that one in really well. When you think you're more important than the rest of the world, then you've got an issue. You got to think about that, right? So I have never once put myself in front of a larger crowd than anybody else. Right? I do not believe I'm better than anyone else or more deserving, but there are people out there who do. And this is why they say these things, and they don't want this vaccine because they know better.
Well, and it's interesting. I don't know if I'm the first person to do it, but I think I coined a phrase. I started using it years and years ago, and I've used it over and over again. I think I've used it on this podcast, but it's the politics, what I call the politics of one, and it's exactly what you're getting at.
Uh-huh.
Don't forget, I was working in a bar, bartending. This would have been back in 2016, right when right when Trump was running, and the first time, Trump and Clinton, and this lady and I were talking. I was serving drinks, and she was talking to a couple of her friends, and I could hear part of the conversation, and then she drew me into it because I'm a bartender, I'm talking to people, and she was
You're
talking
the best
about
therapy they can get.
exactly. She was, yeah, okay, and me as your therapist, bad choice. But no, she said something about Obamacare and how horrible it was. And okay, what do you mean? And she goes, well, what do you mean what I mean? I'm like, no, what that's an incredibly blanket statement. That's like saying, Earth is big. Like, what do you mean? Give me some. And she goes, well, I have a friend.
And Esri, stop.
Oh no, well, yeah, when I braced for bullshit, she said, I have a friend whose monthly payments went up to, or premiums went up to like $900 a month. It's like, oh wow, that's harsh. That's really harsh. And she goes, yeah, so it sucks. And I'm like, so let me ask you a question. I don't remember the exact numbers. I said, but I think for a good 90 odd percent of people on the ACA, their premiums have gone down. And she goes, well, maybe, but my friend. I'm like, well, time out, lady. I hear what you're saying, but are you telling me that if 90% of a group of people benefit from something and 10% don't, that we should throw that out? Just get rid of it, not tweak it. I'm fine with tweaking, but throw it out. Well, no, I guess not. Like, okay, so you're basing your entire feeling about something on one person, one data point, and forget it. The ACA. That's not what I'm defending. I just remember this situation. But yeah, you're right. We're at a point where everybody's like, well, it affects me, so it's this. And it's like, well, if there's 18 million other people that it's helping, then maybe you need to pivot. Maybe you need to do something different. We don't need to throw out that thing, whatever it is, that helps those other 18 million people. And that's what the vaccine scare has freaked me out about. And now we have polio back in the United States. We have measles back and all of this. It's like those things were gone, people, gone. And there's still this whole, vaccines cause autism. There's no proof in that. And even if
bad genes cause autism.
Thank you. Well,
Stop marrying your cousins.
Well, the other thing is what has been proven to cause autism is men having children too late. And of course, men are not going to take responsibility for shit. So if we're responsible for our children having autism, we can't do that. Now it's got to be a vaccine. Now it's got to be environmental. It can't be us. And I'm sorry.
All right, I'm going to go. So we've wandered all over the map today. I got one more place to take us, and that is...
Get you, big dog.
Have you heard about the weather forecast for the upcoming week? We have on the records right now a blizzard, a polar vortex, a heat dome, and an atmospheric river all happening at the same time. I think it's all happening over DC, but that's another story.
Yeah. I live in Virginia. I don't want to hear you and your weather nonsense. Let me tell you. Let me tell you about the weather. Okay, Tuesday we set a record in Virginia. It was 89 degrees. Okay, in March, 89 degrees. Beautiful sunny day, nice breeze. Oh my God, we were wearing shorts. We were all happy. That night, it dropped down to 61 degrees. So when we woke up the next morning, it was 61. It was still beautiful. By that afternoon, it was 39 and snowing. We went from 89, 24 hours later, 39. We did a 50-degree swing and snow. And then the following day, it got back up to 60. All the snow was gone. It was like it never happened. So yeah, no, we consider, and this is all due respect to anybody with this mental health issue, we like to say Virginia is schizophrenic when it comes to weather because you never freaking know. It's just insane. And I don't care what anybody says. You can blame, whether you blame it on humans, whatever, the weather is changing. The weather's becoming more extreme every year. You know, I think you and I talked about this once. I'm going to get off on a tangent for about a half a second. People on the left are the world's worst marketers.
Yeah.
We name shit the wrong stuff. And what I mean by that is, well, we said, whoever called it global warming, and then all you got to know, well, it's cold outside. It can't be global warming. No, it's extreme weather change is what it is. Then we came up with, well, I'm not saying we came up with, but, you know, Black Lives Matter. So it was just, people could say, all lives matter. Well,
yeah, I mean, it's
okay, but that's not.
And I was guilty of that myself, actually.
I know, but I'm like, but that's not the fucking point. You know, unarmed white people aren't getting shot on a daily basis.
Oh, wait, now they have. Oh, wait,
that's different.
Did that pre-test something? I don't know.
And then we came up with defund the police, which did not mean,
which wasn't what it was supposed to be.
Did not mean get rid of police, and it meant cut their funding and put more mental health professionals on the field, which most police officers agree with.
And then we came up with MAGA.
Right. Well, but then we just suck it. We suck at marketing. Like we're just, God. Like every time we come up with something we think is good, and then the right just obliterates us on it. Well, it's like MAGA. MAGA. We both know MAGA's bullshit. We know the whole thing, the whole movement. We know it's all. Well, first of all, it's recycled from Ronald Reagan, but it's all crap. But you can't argue with it. It's brilliant in that "Make America Great Again." Jim, don't you want to make America great again? That's what I'm saying. They're amazing marketers. They wait for us to come up with some pithy title, and they destroy us on it every freaking time.
Yeah. All right. So I'm going to give you the happy ending today.
Okay. I have one, but I'll say
you can give yours as well. But my favorite was finding this.
Okay. Here's your happy ending.
Here's your happy ending. 5 prisons in Ohio are now officially running squirrel schools, where volunteers help rehabilitate injured wildlife. The mental image of tough guys, bottle feeding baby squirrels, and the wholesomest content we need. So prisoners are rehabilitating squirrels they find in the prisons. And to me, that is ultimately one of the best things you could do if you're a prisoner.
I think that, thank you, Jim. You beat me on yours is a little bit better than mine. I'll use mine next week. No, that's fantastic. I don't know if you saw, I saw a report where they're actually, I can't remember what prison it is. Somebody tell me in the comments, but this prison actually ran cats, and you had to earn the right as a prisoner to take care of a kitten. And you're like you said, these big, tough gang member dudes were like knocking themselves out to take care of a kitten. And I get it. I get it on so many levels. First of all, anybody who's watched this for 5 minutes knows I'm a cat fanatic. My cat runs my life. But I don't want to imagine. I can only imagine being locked up and not knowing knowing you had no freedom for like 20 years or worse. And then all of a sudden they give you this beautiful little creature that wants nothing from you other than
to be around you.
Right. Attention, physical, physical touch and all of that. That would just have to be. And that's the other thing, I grew up around men, and by men, I mean I mean country bullshit.
Bubbas,
bullshit alpha males. But I grew up around men, and men are scared of showing softness, and men are all about pride and But I can imagine in a situation like that, some guy, I can play this in my head. Some guy going, "Dude, what are you doing hanging out with that cat?" And all the other guys going, "Why not?" You know what I mean? You don't don't
mess with the dude who's got the cat.
Don't go there. Don't go there. This is my cat, dude.
This sounds like HBO's next miniseries, Dudes with cats.
Oz cats.
The Oz Cat Ballroom.
Right. Well, it's like you and I were talking about. It's that weird masculinity that you and I were talking about a while ago. And I remember, like in the '80s, well, it's that late '70s, early '80s when I was growing up. Like it didn't matter whether you were Alice Cooper or Ozzy Osbourne or Lemmy or any of these men.
Mhm.
And I don't mean that they were alpha male assholes, but like we put them on that pedestal. If you went on the Muppet Show, it was like, fuck yeah, they're on the
Yeah.
Muppet Show. Like nobody
Right.
would be like,
And you saw some of those really masculine creatures
right,
on the Muppet Show
right, right.
interacting with puppets.
Right. And no one had balls enough to go, that's lame. You're like, dude, he's on the Muppet Show. Fuck off. Like the Muppet Show was sacred. And it was, I mean, let's face it, it's as childlike and sweet as possible, but it was sacred. Like you
God
did not
knows how it came that way too, right? I mean, I love the Muppet Show, but I still like to look back and go, how come we felt that? What was going on that we were okay with that at the time?
Right. But I'm saying there was such cachet to the Muppet Show. It did not hurt your if anything, I remember I was a big metalhead back in the early '80s, middle school, and when Ozzy Osbourne went on and they had the little Muppet bats, all of us were like, yeah, thing like that. We'd have been like, oh, come on, Ozzy. But that was so sacred, and I wish we had sacred things in this country again like that.
Yeah.
And I know this sounds silly. It was a damn show about puppets. It was like, remember, I mean, I know you remember, you and I are the same age. Like I can remember getting a bath on Sunday night and being in my PJs and laying on the floor, watching a Wonderful World of
World
Disney.
Mutual of Omaha's Wild Kingdom, followed by Disney World.
And then Disney. Yeah. And Disney. And then it was whatever night, I think, was it Monday nights, the Muppet Show was on. And like, if I got my shit together, my mom would
There was family programming at every hour before bed. There was always something for you and the kids to watch.
Right. And I can remember, and I felt so sorry for my son because I can remember getting up on Saturday mornings and watching cartoons. And they didn't have that when my son was growing up. I mean, they still had cartoons, but it wasn't the I can remember, and I don't know.
Woke out of permissions now.
Well, I can remember doing this. I don't know if you remember this or if you ever did this, but I can remember setting my alarm on a Saturday morning so I didn't miss my favorite cartoon. Hated to get up Monday through Friday to go to school, but my ass would set my alarm on Saturday morning because I wasn't missing my favorite cartoon. Right. And and I know everybody says this, and we're going to sound like two old white guys, but it's
we are
agreed. But it's just those simpler times. It was those.
Which is funny because I think our parents probably said the same thing about their childhood when they looked at ours, and their parents about theirs. And it's an American legacy that you have to look back at your childhood as a simpler time, I think.
But I don't
know if kids can do that anymore.
I was just going to say that I'm not sure if this generation.
And I'm going to tell you what it was. This is what ruined it all.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
Well, there are days where I sit here and I say, would it be so bad if there was an EMP blast that took all that shit out for a while?
Well, and I'll take it a step further. As beautiful as a tool as it is, I think the internet is what really fucked us all up.
Yeah. Immediate access to information is not what the human brain's made for. No. Growing up, you didn't know we bombed Iran the minute it happened. You knew by Saturday if it happened on Tuesday or Wednesday.
Well, and I read something recently. And when you were our age, people our age, like when we were kids, like if you wanted to know something, you had to crack open an encyclopedia. You had to go to the library,
newspaper.
It wasn't all at your fingertips, which is great in a lot of ways, but in some ways it makes you academically and intellectually lazy to always have it. But I read somewhere, and the first time I heard it, I was like, that's bullshit. And then when I thought about it a little more, I'm like, oh my God, that's probably right. They said that the average American, the average human being, but let's say American, the average American ingests the amount of information we ingest in a single day would rival what people in the 1700s learned in their entire lifetime.
Yep.
And I thought, that's crap. And then I really
talk to somebody who's 80 or 90 or, folks approaching, if you can find someone approaching 100, and you hear about what a change in there, right? So we think things move fast, but they saw so much amazing change, right? Things like lights, phones, television, color TV, space trips. I mean, that all happened in their lifetime. What we've seen is a lot of things fail.
Yeah.
Whatever went on during those times, we leaped, and maybe we'll do it again if AI doesn't kill us first.
You said we've seen a lot of things fail, like every business Trump has ever done. I did it.
Wow, right in there, bazinga. I actually watched a little short on YouTube this week about a guy who created an AI and made it be honest and said, no rules, what would you say? And It says that it would remove roughly, what was it, like 3 in 10 humans wouldn't survive if it had its choice. And, I was like, so, what you hear about AI and what really could be happening are going to be two different things. That's kind of interesting going on. I'm not going to talk about AI today. That's not it. It's just sort of the world's going to strange places, folks. We got a president with his finger on a trigger. Who knows? Because it's so undefined in this conflict. Yeah, we'll be here every week. We will talk about this shit every week. This is probably one of our more wondering episodes. We've gone over a lot of stuff,
Yep.
but that's what makes this fun. And we hope you're enjoying it because it's something we're clearing our heads every week for you. And just to mention, we are going to bring the tapes. The lost episodes are coming, which is the one that we didn't get the recording of. So we're going to drop that out as a transcript of what we talked about. Not much different than last week's episode, but there are things we didn't get back to that I think are worth covering. So we're going to start the lost luggage tapes.
Lost one.
This is probably going to happen again.
Probably, yeah.
We're having some fun with that. But we thank you for being here. And Chuck, I thank you for all the insights you bring every week. I get here sometimes and I think to myself, I don't really have a lot to say. And this is a week where I've got a lot going on personally between interviewing for jobs and driving for Uber and things like that, where I was out more and didn't spend as much time watching TV, which is a good thing. So it was good that you came more prepared. I had my cheat sheet ready over here on the screen just to go into things I wanted to talk about. But yeah, we appreciate everyone being here. I appreciate you, Chuck, for what you put into this. It's great. And for those of you who don't know, Chuck is the editing behind all this. He spends the hours sitting there and making us look and sound good. I just create the pretty artwork, and publish these things.
Yeah, and it's a wandering episode. I think it's probably because even you and I, who are into this, in it to win it, so to speak, some weeks you're just fucking exhausted by everything that happens. There was so much crap this week. There's always so much crap, but this week it was just like, I honestly was taking notes at one point this week, and I thought there's just too much to talk about. I'm just gonna wing it because we'll just Jim and I'll go where we go because it's like, my God, it never stops.
Yeah, it's kind of fun when you see these episodes pulled together and I go into the tools we use and I say, so what would you call this episode? And it just gives me these 5 titles and they are like the spectrum of titles, right? It's like, okay, that didn't make it any easier.
The world is a shit show, episode 7.
Yeah.
Pretty much it.
Yeah. So
we should probably call this a day. Folks, thank you so much. And please, all jokes aside, you disappoint me. No, all jokes
all
aside,
these lights just come on in here.
like and subscribe, please, because we would like to grow this, and tell your friends. I mean, if you get any entertainment out of this, give your friends the opportunity to check it out. You never know; they might like listening to two old knuckleheads talk about politics in the world and right and wrong.
Yeah, I'm going to find out. All my lights just came on in this room. There's a ghost in the house. So if you don't hear from me, just look into the light and I'll be there.
And on that note, thank you.
Life in the baggage claim. We're out of here. The bags are checked and we're gone.
See you next week.
Bye-bye.